welcome to Vibe and Shine Podcast, the podcast where prosperity meets personal growth. I'm Krista. I support mamas with ADHD to help them work with their brains, not against them.
And I'm Jessica. I'm your growth-minded guide who helps you align with the most inspired and intentional version of yourself in both life and business.
In each episode, we'll dive into the mindset shifts, strategies, and business insights that fuel success, while also keeping alignment and well-being at the center. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a leader, or someone on a journey of self-discovery, this is your space to grow, thrive, and create a life by design. Today, we are excited to welcome our next guest, Chloe Handelman, the co-owner of Beyond Ownership. Chloe is not only a world traveler, which we will learn about soon, but also a business extraordinaire who specializes in helping business owners develop their leadership teams and operational foundations. She is changing the game here on a local level with the business continuity and transition process in order to sustain and grow our local economy. Please join us in welcoming Chloe.
Ooh, welcome,
Yay!
Chloe. We're so excited to have you today.
Excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. And yeah, we'll start there.
Oh, that's always such an interesting question. And I always wonder what answer is going to come out as I am asked that. So yeah, Chloe Handelman. I am a Rochester native, grew up here, and always had a really big interest in doing something for the world and never really knew what that was going to look like. Mm-hmm. Started out with deciding to study engineering at Ohio State and wanted to use engineering to make the world a better place. I didn't really know how that was going to happen. Stumbled my way into management consulting and was working for a big firm in Minnesota, Accenture, one of those big corporate firms that suddenly you find out yourself in. And well, at least for myself, as I suddenly found myself within and realized, whoa, is this what life is about? Mm-hmm. And quickly realized when I was working there that the level of impact I really wanted to have on the world and in humanity felt like it was going to be very far away. Growing big corporations, making rich companies richer. They do great work, no shame at all to that firm. But I was really eager for helping the little guy, helping small businesses, helping the people within these organizations to have a better work-life experience. And so really hit my head against the wall quite a long time there before deciding to buy a one-way ticket to Asia and start figuring it out from the start, from scratch. I remember on the plane ride over across the ocean, I was journaling. I still have the journal, and it says, "I want to fail. I want to learn. I want to grow." And that's really where this journey into this current chapter of my life, the quickest version I could get. And I'm proud of how quick that was, actually. So,
yeah,
because it was only like a few years, right?
After graduating college and making that realization, I traveled between my junior and senior year of college and was in, where did I go? Australia and Fiji. And some islands and remote islands in Fiji. And I realized, and then also like in Australia, noticing the difference of like work-life balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And came back to college and was concerned about what path I had been taking, right? And was just, I might want to do something different. But, forces happened and I ended up getting that job. And then I traveled before starting that job. Mm-hmm. And I went to Thailand and then actually ended up back in Australia and Fiji again. And same thing, I was in the villages in the northern region of Thailand where I was sitting on a out in rice fields in a little shack. It's downpouring and just happy. Mm-hmm. And for the first time in my life, I realized how much you could just be happy just by being.
Yeah.
And I almost didn't start my corporate job, but glad I did. Glad I did it. But it was just this profound, whoa. Yeah. I've been following this preset path for myself for my whole life. Right. And I never have decided for myself what I wanted to a degree that really felt like I was owning my life and owning my choices.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
That's amazing. I don't think you hear about a lot of people who are, young, who are doing those things. It's always like in retirement, we get to experience these things. But, you just proved to us all that you can just literally pack up one suitcase and one-way ticket and go to the other side of the world and just be.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a 45-liter, so it was a carry-on and a personal item. The first 6 months was that. So no checked baggage.
Wow.
That was the after I had left corporate. So that was the one-way ticket to Asia. Was that first year was some of the most profound internal shifts and just facing myself in the mirror in a way I had never seen. My mom will always say the saying, wherever I go, there I am.
Mm-hmm.
And when you strip away the achievement and the preset path and the people think I should do this or that, and you're alone in a hostel room and having to decide what's next and where next, and am I going to stay friends with these people or am I not? And there's no reason why I should stay this way or do this that way. It was like,
no one's telling you what to do.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued because what about the experience? Is it the other countries and the way that they live? Is it that freedom aspect and not knowing where you're going next? Tell me more about that. Live vicariously through you.
It's an interesting question because I think there's a combination of it all. That first year, I was adamant that one of my big business, that whole time I was like, I'm going to make a business. I landed in Bali, went to the first place I was in Bali and was in co-working spaces. And because immediately I quit my corporate and I immediately go try to figure out what I'm going to do next. And I had people, I was trying to be inspired by other entrepreneurs, other people who were working remotely, people who were teaching English, working for remote companies or just traveling. I was trying to figure out what might this path in this chapter of my life look like, and immediately was trying to start deciding on a business and stuff, and pros and cons to immediately getting some income when you quit your job and do a one-way ticket or leave the thing off of your savings. Different path for sure. But I remember being in a co-working space and someone said, do you have time? And I said, yes. They said, do you have money? I said, yes. And they said, get out of here and go travel. The disconnection from the attempt to achieve was one of the most and what do I really want? And it's really funny because at this chapter in my life, I was just at a breakfast this morning and speaking to a business owner, and him and his partners are talking about what their succession might look like in the next 10, 15 years. And we're sitting there looking at him and say, what do you want? And I was doing that in my early 20s. Right?
Yes.
And it was this, I'm smart, I'm resourceful, I can create the life I want. If I don't get clear on this, I'm going to be had by another person's cause instead of pursuing my own cause. And but aspects of your question, in the inspiration of other cultures, I was going to say this, and I don't know if I ended up looping back on this. I can't remember that train of thought. The understanding of other perspectives, getting outside of our comfort zone, getting outside of the set rhythms. I was so set on setting up like gap year programs or because in other countries it's like normal to do a gap year after college or after high school before you start college or university. And for me, I had realized I never had that chance that space to think. And I think that especially in America, we don't really have the opportunity to see outside of our own culture. You drive 10 hours and you've got the same types of people-ish. Drive 10 hours in Europe, well, you're going to be very different situations.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that's interesting. Somebody asked me the other day what I wanted to do when I was a kid, what I told everybody. And I said, well, I told everybody that I wanted to be a teacher because I thought that was the right answer. I was good with kids. So like, I thought, And I got to college and I was like, I don't really want to be a teacher. My mom's like, you're good at it. You should do it. You're good at it. I have my master's in education and I'm not a teacher. But to your point of it's that set path. What are you good at? What is it going to be? They're asking me when I'm 5 years old, like I should know, what that looks like. It's very interesting to hear, feel, and get the different perspectives from you. Mm-hmm. And how you lived it, but then found it early to know that you have a choice in what your future looks like.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting from what you just said about being a teacher, like if we pause for a minute and we take back to, okay, well, what does that actually mean? Teacher is a label. Teacher is a pathway. Teacher is a choice. Mm-hmm. But what's the values that teaching is? And the things you're doing in your career at this point in time, you are guiding in a sense, right? You're not, what's teachers pushing information to people? I don't think that's your coaching style. It doesn't seem like that to me at all. But in that regard, you're helping other people to grow and to develop. And so I think we often get attached to titles or pathways or frameworks of doing things. And we don't stop to pause to say, well, what are my objectives here? What are my values here?
Yes.
And revisiting that. Now, I was a world traveler. I moved back to Rochester. I've been here for almost 2 years. I went to Canada a few times, but I've not used my passport, enhanced licenses. I haven't used my passport in almost 2 years. I used to use it every month. Mm-hmm. And what's really interesting is that I've had to then reinvent myself along and be courageous enough to revisit my values and say, wait, my values have shifted. Mm-hmm. My my vagabond personality is shifted towards other types of adventure more locally, or and how do you allow yourself to change in different chapters of your life and change what is important to you, and but also make sure that those values are still being met, because otherwise we'll live out of integrity with what's important to us, and then suddenly we're not happy. And that I faced that when I was at the end of my traveling journey. Now, family reasons brought me home, but I was starting to feel out of integrity. I didn't have the things I needed. I didn't have community. I didn't have the impact I wanted in my career. I didn't have the impact I wanted in the organizations I was supporting. And so I was feeling that turmoil, and I had to do something about it. And, the universe gave me a family situation to come home to support. And then suddenly my whole world can reorient around things that are most important.
Right. Mm-hmm. As long as you're following that, gut intuition to go home and do that, and everything else kind of falls into place. Mm-hmm. I'm curious though, as far as like the engineering kind of background, like did that come from maybe somebody else's wish for you, or was that something that you had real curiosity around and kind of want to just explore it and didn't go with it?
Yeah, I think it's well, this is get a bit deep, not going too far. I could control math and science. Made sense.
Yeah.
I could 1 + 1 = 2, and the equations always worked, and
the outcome.
Yeah. And for numbers, without getting too deep, numbers of reasons of my upbringing, it was nice to have that certainty. And so I then remember there's a girl from my high school. I remember sitting down with her in the Commons, their cafeteria, and she's like, have you ever heard of industrial engineering? And I was like, what's that? And she's like, well, you just it's efficiencies and optimization. Like you just make things better. And I was like, and it's engineering? She's like, yeah. I was like, I want to do that one. And because I think I had that foresight of, I'm good at math and science, but I didn't really care about building bridges or engines or things like that. But I could see that ability to improve organizations and make things better was always an interest. And I'm so grateful for that foundational education. And the way that I was able to leverage that and see how it comes through in all of what I'm doing now, because the engineering now is applied, the systems thinking is more applied to business operations within an organization and how to really help organizations again, back to their mission and their values and their objectives, helping them to systematically get towards those goals. And then if an organization's values and mission and objectives shift and change, we can help them get there as well. So I am very grateful for that. I disowned business and operations and all that for a little while as I was trying to figure out what I actually wanted to do. But coming back to that and realizing that the impact I can actually have on humanity is through business in that regard of helping organizations, good organizations, be better organizazations and have more positive impacts around the world and especially here in our local community.
Right. Oh, I love that. Yeah, tell us more about that. We're on that subject of what you're doing, as far as locally and trying to help economically here in Rochester.
Ooh, that's a fun one that I'm working on right now. So what's been really interesting, it's happening nationally, but there is a very large wave of business owners that are going to be entering into retirement age in the next 5 to 10 years. There's the number of the boomers and the Gen Xers are right behind them of desires to retire ahead of when the boomers have set the trends for. But what's happening is there's not that much infrastructure in place nationally. There's studies that are being done, and we can understand that on a local impact of what that will look like for our local economy should we not build better support infrastructure around these later stage businesses. In our 9-county region surrounding Rochester, there are 10,500 businesses with owners over the age of 55, equating to like 120,000 employees and over $4 billion in payroll. Nationally, in 2022, the number of businesses small to medium-sized businesses that exited, according to a McKinsey report, there was 500,000. They exited that in 2022, 92% closed.
Wow.
Closed. So if we apply that same statistic, let's just be favorable and say that 25% survive rather than 8%. Let's say 25%. That's $1 billion. It's only $1 billion, from $4 billion down to $1 billion in payroll of local purchasing power here in our community. So what I'm working on is twofold, directly with businesses, helping businesses individually strengthen their leadership capacities, strengthen their operations to be able to be more resilient and continue into the next generations, whether that's an internal transition or potentially an external transition. I want successful local transitions as much as possible. But as a community in Rochester, we're working on understanding how can we reduce the number of closures for preventable measures. There's going to be natural economic turnover. That's good for business. That's good for our community. But what are the preventable reasons why these businesses are closing? Often it's that people haven't planned for it. So it's just a matter of can we start by increasing the awareness to help business owners proactively plan. It's not you're going to sell your business. It's not you're going to close things down. It shouldn't scare your employees. It should inspire and excite your employees that you're thinking proactively. God forbid you get hit by a bus or you have a family event come up. Your employees, your supply chain, your community can trust that you've proactively prepared. So that's what I'm working on. I moved back to Rochester and see how many incredible executives from our former, Kodak, Xerox, Bausch and Lomb have left those organizations as they had their downfall and held our economy up by starting these incredible small to medium-sized businesses. They are, they have helped our economy thrive over the last couple of decades as that was all going on. Now they're all facing retirement. Let's celebrate these local heroes. Let's help ensure that their legacy remains and really keep these businesses thriving here. And how can we do that all and support each other together? So that was long-winded, but thank you for the answer or the question because I'm such a nerd. I'm passionate about this.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I think I was mentioning to you before, our focus, I think now in the city is basically how many new businesses can we open? But maybe that's not the question to ponder. Is your research has shown okay, well, if we can shift some of those people who are looking to get into business into existing business here. We don't have those already formed dollars per se leave or just like disintegrate to nothing, then, we can maintain and even grow, just basically having those business-minded people jump into something that's already doing well.
Yeah, and there's incredible work being done to attract and start up and retain current businesses. And where's the support for, like, we're filling a leaky bucket. If you look at number of establishments and jobs in Rochester over like 2019 to 2023, it's like flatlined. But there's a lot of exits and a lot of job deaths, like 11,000 per year, like on average. So, but the jobs have stayed steady. So we're starting them up, we're bringing them in, but like, don't we want Rochester to grow? So yeah, we can ramp those efforts up, and we could potentially start patching some of these leaky buckets,
right?
And see what we can do from there, and get the incredible programs that are already working more amplified. I talk to business owners that they don't even know what they don't even know what resources are available here. Providers who don't even know some of the pathways. Employee ownership is an incredible internal transition pathway, and people don't even know what employee ownership is. I've talked to students of local universities and MBA programs locally who don't know what employee ownership is, and that it's a pathway.
Yeah.
It's a great pathway, and it's possible for a lot of organizations, but our providers don't necessarily know enough about it.
Right.
Our business owners don't know about it. And how can we learn more about the pathways that are? There's local buyers who are trying to find great businesses. I've spoken to many of them. They're values aligned, mission aligned. They care about our community. They want to keep it here. They can't find a business to buy. Why? Right? These businesses aren't ready. The ones that they might want haven't prepared enough. So there's so many ways. And so we're working to really coordinate efforts of these providers who are mission aligned and really wanting to really coordinate efforts to roll forward initiatives that get better access to these business owners, get better coordination amongst these providers, and amplify the programs and solutions that exist, and identify the gaps and start plugging those gaps up and stopping this bucket from leaking.
Right. That's important. I think it's also a good note to mention is that, like, training those employees to be in a business owner mindset before they're actually doing it and ready for it. Like, they're not just employees. They can have some sort of ownership, and then that transition just becomes easier because they have that trust already. It's not just some outside buyer coming in and just, they don't have the trust, and they may destroy the whole business or whatever it is, put their own values in there. So I think it's an awesome option that is not talked about enough. It's not for every business, but it's there.
Yeah, and what you're describing in terms of cultivating that, like the ownership mindset within employees and within the leadership teams within an organization, even if you don't convert to employee ownership, it'll increase the value of your company at the very least. It'll make you have more options, right? Because if a strategic buyer comes in, one of these local people that I have talked with, and they see that they've got an activated workforce who, even if some things are out of order, it's not a perfectly packaged up business, but you've got employees who are sinking into projects, owning their choices, owning their work, you're going to have more options for pathways to exit. Maybe it could be a management buyout. Maybe it could be employee ownership. Maybe you get a better value on a strategic sale or a local buyer, right? But how do you then proactively prepare? And you're not just helping your company, you're helping our community by having people in these companies who own their life, own their choices,
care.
And care. And that's what, people are all concerned about the next generation. And it's great. My business partner, represents the generations above. I'm representing the generations below. And people are saying that, they don't care, they don't want to work less. I'm like, they want to feel like they have ownership of something. They want to be proud of the work that they're doing.
100%.
That's why I left Accenture. Like, it was like, I couldn't I couldn't feel like I had enough impact.
Right.
And
you don't have any skin in the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're helping them.
Exactly.
Using your knowledge and your resources. And
yeah. And so how do we help these young people, emerging leaders, wake up and realize I can own my choices. I can make a change in this org. But like oftentimes when we're coaching, like from our leadership development stuff, we're actually coaching people to realize what levers can you pull in your own personal life and start practicing in your personal life of, I own my choices. I don't need to complain about this, that, or the other. Like I can actually shift this. And then you're like, I can do that. And you come into your business and you're like, our procurement process, like it's so messed up. I never know how much inventory we've got. It's like, wait, I can do something about that. Let me do something instead of, they won't let me. This isn't working. This isn't like, it's what am I going to do about it? Because it's miserable in my life if I don't fix this process. And I'm going to just keep complaining about it.
Right.
And it's like, well, then do something. What are you going to do?
Right.
It sounds like, victim mindset
Yeah.
is being transformed into like ownership, essentially.
That's, how can it, yes. It's like, what can't I do? And it goes from what I can't do to what can I do about it, right? And well, in our leadership program, it's hilarious. It's like the first week people will come in and we ask them their objectives and they, you start digging into some of their company's issues and they're always pointing. It's like, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. And then by the end, they realize they've got 3 fingers pointed back at themselves. That whole thing. You see me on camera right over here, the finger pointed, 3 back at yourself, right? And suddenly they're like, wait, I'm colluding in this problem and what can I do about it? And for me, that was what I had to fly across the world to realize that. And then I took this leadership program before I partnered with my incredible business partner, Bruce Peters. And I took it before we decided to partner together. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I traveled for 6 years, stumbling across all these concepts. And here it is in a 3 half day class, that you can take. And
that experience just helped you build and grow what you have now.
Yeah.
I love to see your passion. Like you just get like fired up in a good way about it. So I just feel that from you.
It's exhausting sometimes, to be honest.
At the end of the day, just ready to not talk about it. But
I'm about to go away for a week unplugged, and I'm like, yes. Give me it.
Yep.
I have a gazillion questions to ask. How do you think COVID impacted all of this? Because you talked about 2019 to what, 2023? I don't know. You know your stats. You know your numbers.
Yeah.
How, if at all, do you think COVID impacted that? And then what does that look like from here?
Are you asking about like related to the job closure or the establishment closures, or are you
everything?
Everything?
No, I mean like even how like the younger generation. I hear from my husband. He's an engineer. The younger, people don't want to work. That's actually not just him. It's everywhere.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah. Everywhere.
They just don't want, it's not the case. It's just that they want to have ownership.
That's what's really, really interesting. It's, well, first my business partner would say, well, who hired them?
Touché.
And it's not to say that we can't then support the younger generation in helping with some of this mindset shift. I think there is a lot of victim mentality in the younger generations. Social media is no help.
Sure. And it's passed down. It's not something that's new. It's just the way that they're then dealing with it per se. They're a little more vocal or, I deserve this. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's interesting. I don't have all the answers on that, right? I think that without taking a good, hard look in the mirror at these organizations and, every generation complains about the next generation, right? And what their issues are and their qualms are. Like, and so trying to push the same solutions that worked for your generation into the next is its own interesting thought. But what I do recognize in our leadership program, we've got people of all ages in there, from senior leaders down to someone who doesn't even actually have a team but they are a leader from their seat.
Yeah.
they are realizing ownership at a radical level and personal agency. And whether that makes them remain at that company or not is actually an interesting conversation, right? Like, I own my choices. And maybe they realize through that they don't want to improve that company.
Yeah.
Or maybe they realize that they are going to have a chance to try to improve the company and it's not sticking. And culturally, the organization's not listening to them and they can't facilitate change. And then let's get them into another role that they actually can. But these people, I think once you start giving your employees an opportunity to really dig their teeth into improvement opportunities, ownership of, and like clarity on their accountability, their responsibility, what are they actually able to control? You won't really know whether it's actually the employee's fault or the design of the cultural and operational design of the organization.
Yeah. That's a great answer. My husband recently took over his company.
Oh, interesting.
And they went through the whole process. So it's interesting to hear you talk about it because I was like, in the background of it. And it took a while. And it took, to your point, a lot of self-awareness. Like just like you said, looking in the mirror. What do I want this company to look like? What do we want this company to look like? Are the people who built the company, are they ready to let go? It is not a simple thing. So, and it's so needed. Like you're saying, it's so needed. People don't know you can have people from your business buy the company. I hear from my husband, other companies are looking to just have it be bought out. They think that's just the easier way to do it. And so not only is self-awareness important, but also awareness of what you can do with the company is huge.
Yeah, and it comes back to that whole, what I was saying, this conversation I had this morning. What do you want? What do you want for yourself? What do you want for your employees? What do you want for your community? What do you want for your customers? And flipping this switch, the number of businesses that are getting unsolicited offers or calls or, it's increasing because everyone, this information isn't new to a lot of the people who are in position to gobble up a bunch of these firms. And so people are can we flip the narrative though, in that these organizations take a beat, think about what they want, and then they're going out to the market and saying, hey, I actually want to work with this kind of I want this kind of person to come buy my company. And if you don't look like this, I don't want to talk to you. Yeah. Or I want these types of values. And, employee ownership is really cool. It's a really fun space to be in nowadays. People traditionally just know about employee stock ownership plans or ESOPs. In Rochester, there's like 25 of them. In which it should be celebrated, and it's really amazing what they're doing. There's an employee-owned trust, and I like to describe that as a canvas and a paintbrush. So it basically, in perpetuity, you can lock in your values as an owner, and your trust protectors are ensuring that the organization is following these core tenets of your organization. So it's, what do you want? You can design that. There's worker cooperatives, there's phantom stock, there's direct employee ownership. Like, there's all these different forms. And again, I think what's interesting about this ownership mindset is that and operational foundations, if you don't realize that, if you don't work on your organization in a way that can exist without you, if you sell the company, it needs to exist without you anyway. So if you think you're going to go sell to a third party, and you haven't removed yourself from the operations, you're not going to get the valuation that you want. And then you actually look at it and you say, wait, I actually, if I'm doing all this work, suddenly I see my team is actually potentially a viable buyer as well. And there's so much funding now and really great, there's big funds that are available to help transition, to finance this transitions. There's CDFIs that can help finance worker cooperative transitions. So you're not just, my employees can't afford it. There's also ways to, if you're in a good business standing, you can create, is this a partial seller note, there's different ways to do it. Yeah. And so it takes that proactivity though. And it takes providers who have the relationships with these businesses to talk about this well in advance and help change the stigma around it, that this is just good business practice. It's good for your family. Like, again, God forbid you get hit by a bus. 80%, I think you know the stat, right? 80% of business owners' wealth is tied up in the value of their company.
Yeah.
And if it's an illiquid asset, because it's all the knowledge is stuck in their head, and it's what are you doing to your family by not making sure that this is liquid and it can be sold if God forbid something happened to you? What is you doing to your family if you don't have the right estate plan in place?
It's huge.
In your employees, in your community, right? And so
yep. I'm 100% on board with you with everything. It's
take a drink break.
my day-to-day, passion is talking to people as well. It's the same thing. I mean, I think it should be a staple when you're buying your business. Listen, there should be some sort of like documents or something, whether you're like incorporating it or whatever. This is kind of the plan, right? You've set up your accounting, you've set up whatever you need to set up in the beginning of creating a business. And then here's the plan for the rest of the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years, however it might be, up until, your eventual transition, because it's either going to happen to you or you're going to be able to facilitate it. And just having that freedom of choice, like you're saying, it's huge. I mean, it's really what dictates good business practice and not. But most people just don't know that. Right. So it's providing that education earlier on is such a key. And it can be an entrepreneur. It doesn't have to be a big business that's already existing, because those people can add employees. They can add other things to their organizations. Yeah, it's just not known. And that's kind of like my passion, is spreading that knowledge to people earlier on, as well as helping people who already have existing businesses that are successful. So,
yeah, we're in like this go, go, go mentality where we're like, we don't have enough time to sit and hear you and listen.
Yeah, that's always what it is. Yep.
And same to you. Oh, they'll give me a couple $1 million for the company. Boom. I would, they just see the dollar signs, and what you're saying is it's more than just that. It's the value. It's their values, which again, they personally probably don't take a lot of time to necessarily think about.
Well, it's also there's what happens when you get what you want, right?
Ooh.
Like there's a book on that, and my business partner used to go do talks on this all across the country. Like, like there's the number of stories of these entrepreneurs that have big exits and they don't even know what their next thing might be. Yeah. The stories of these business owners who sell off, go move down to Florida, and there's the concept of fat wallet, broken heart. Like, what did you just do to your local legacy? What did you had a? We don't want people to go. I don't want the people to go through that, And how do you? It was so much fun last year. Bruce and I put on an event during Global Entrepreneurship Week, and we they were doing Global Entrepreneurship Week, and they almost didn't have Exit and Succession Day. Well, actually, they did. My colleague friend was planning, and he called me. He's like, "Hey, can you do Exit and Succession Day?" I was like, "Well, what happens if I don't?" And he's like, "Well, we won't. We might not do it." I go, "Okay, well, we're doing it." And so we coordinated a really cool event where we actually did some like matchmaking between service providers and entrepreneurs. So like a young entrepreneur could talk, or a new entrepreneur could talk to a valuation expert, and for 15 minutes for free, and like learn about the end, right? Or or an attorney, or this, that, or the other, or a banker. But part of that event is we pulled together a panel of Bruce's former CEO peer group members. So Bruce used to run CEO peer groups, many of whom he helped coach through transition. And so there were 4 of his leaders, former peer group members. and all of them had exited their companies. And they're all sitting there telling how they are what they're doing now and the ways that they're giving back to our local community. One had just secured funding from Golisano for the Mary Cariola facility.
Cool.
One had so much money. One does events all across Rochester raising money for local charities and foundations. One is on a board of a charter school here. One is running clean tech initiatives at a larger, like, to see that if you are intentional and design the exit of your company, you get to keep giving and keep having a profound impact on your community. It allows you to have that next step if you want it, right? Maybe you do want to go out to Florida and just do what you want to do. Cool. But it was just so profound to hear what you can then do if you proactively plan and the impact that you can, and the legacy that you can continue to leave. So
I'm leaving.
I love it.
A lot of information. I'm connecting you with my husband.
Love to.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you where do you want to go?
Well, I think I had a train of thought there I was going to ask, but I completely forgot. So let's shift to alignment and how you are in alignment now with yourself versus maybe a point in time where you weren't in alignment, and comparatively, like what's the difference between those two, and just how does it feel?
Ooh, there's been plenty of points in my life where I felt out of alignment. I think if we're not human and we're not living, then you can maybe, numb to it all.
Sure.
But I'm unfortunately or fortunately hypersensitive to it, and I try to do a lot of different things. So that alignment shifts a lot. One thing that's popping out, especially on this thread that we're already on, is when I was previous to co-founding Beyond Ownership, I had my own fractional operations consulting business. And I was the right-hand woman to founders or CEOs of small organizations and helping them streamline their operations. And what I found with a few of the clients I was working with they were just trying to build a company for themselves. It was like marketing agencies or this or that. And I was helping them streamline their ops and be more efficient. And it was like suddenly I was realizing that I fired this client very soon after I realized this, but they had hired an executive assistant from the Philippines who I had some calls with, and realized that executive assistant had 2 or 3 other jobs and had just been able to afford buying like a mattress for themselves. And I was like, wait, and I knew the owner of the company was building a villa. And I was like, what is going on here? And as soon as I realized that, I was like, okay, let me gracefully exit here. And for me, if you pull back the curtains on a lot of organizations, you see some of those choices. And so for me, recognizing that the types of organizations that I really wanted to be serving, I was not feeling I was in alignment there. So I had to really change tack. I had to really be intentional about who I was going after. I had to sacrifice things. I had to, dip into savings because I didn't have the pipeline built in the right direction, right? And it became so much more of it becomes so much more of a positive experience when then you're working with a client that that their mission is greater than just earning money.
Right.
And you can see through sometimes those fluffy vision statements that they're like, yeah, but I'm doing this. And it's like, but truly, like, good intentions aren't good enough. Like, what are you actually trying to do? And so being here and now at home, like, you can see my excitement and my passion, because I think, this can really impact our community in profound ways. And like now, I didn't put this stat earlier. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around, but underrepresented populations are the most at risk for this tsunami of coming through of business owners. The folks that are employed by most of these over the age of 55 are white men, and most of the employees of these businesses are women, people of color, and from different diverse backgrounds, and you suddenly realize that maybe the owners might not have the worst case scenario because they did put into their retirement or they have some money elsewhere, but what's going to then happen? So for me, this difference of what I was, where I was before, and realizing like, wait, didn't I leave the big corporation because I wanted to have a positive impact? Now suddenly I'm like closer to it. I can have more direct impact, but now I need to change tack to like which types of business owners I'm supporting. And now I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I can actually have this impact on a community at large, and generations to come, hopefully, can be positively impacted. So
yeah,
I'm not sure if that answered your question in some regard, but
it did.
And it was hard, like security, safety, a client's paychecks, right? Like, you have to feed yourself. You have to make sure you're taken care of, but at the same time, too, at some point, you've really got to make choices that can ensure that you're doing the work that you want to be doing.
Right. And there's an element of self-trust there that I'm sure you've had to, experience. When you had those moments of doubt, what were some of the ways that you kind of grounded yourself back to just saying, I've got this, like, this is what I want to do. And even if it's not working out right now, it's going to. Like, what are some of your methods?
Crying and calling my mom.
That's a good one.
It is, yeah.
Truly. I mean, I like the processing the fear and letting the fear, it's scary. Like, I get so frustrated if I cry and someone is like, oh, don't cry. I'm like, this is good. Trust me. Just give me a second. Let me get this through. Let me get through this. But allowing the space, a set amount of space, not wallowing in there, but really, joking again, but like going to those people who have seen me always figure it out and get those affirmations. Affirmations are, you can do them enough for yourself, but at least for me, I know I've got some people in my corner who I can call up and be like, I'm so scared right now and I want to do this. And I am grateful. My mom has always been just such an incredible supporter for me, as always, I've got you, worst case scenario, you're okay. Like, let's go for it.
Right.
But also really taking those moments for myself. Meditation's a big part of my life. It's come through. I used to meditate for a period of my life. I was meditating for an hour a day. I'm at 10 minutes right now, if I can, and have the time to sometimes, and can make the time. But having a routine that you can fall back into, and gratitude, I know that that's something that's probably important to all of us. And in the morning, every day, writing down what I'm grateful for, starting in that positive vibration, acknowledging the things that are going well. I like to stack the evidence at the end of the day and say, what are all the things that are showing me that I'm in the right direction? What are all the things that are affirming, even if it's this small thing here or there? It's that reminder, you find $5 on the way into Wegmans, or someone stops and holds the door for you. It's just these small moments, in those moments of doubt of like, okay, wait.
Yeah.
I'm human. I'm doing the right thing, right? And taking minutes to slow down. So that's some of the ways that I attempt to realign.
It definitely resonates with what we talk about here on the podcast. And Krista, too. I know she's very big with her journaling, things like that. And being a coach, teaching people how to use methods along those lines. We talk about a little bit about a relationship to money and success and things like that, and how they may ebb and flow throughout your life. But if there has been any change with your relationship to money and success and achievement per se, what has that looked like since you've traveled the world and moved into this, it seems like, kind of full circle of all of your experiences into what you're doing now and creating that impact?
It's been really interesting watching my navigation with a lot of that. I since I was very little, I saved every penny. I had a little piggy bank, a little fake pea. And I mean, I was, always really intentional with things around money and liking to understand how it worked and how it flowed. I worked throughout high school and college. And then I got the biggest paying job one of the highest paying jobs you could get out of engineering, and huge sign-on bonus. I was, around all this money. Right before I quit, I was on a massive boat from one of the managing directors. He had taken us out on Lake Minnetonka in Minnesota. It's like and I remember looking, because I had tried to find someone within the organization that I like really wanted their life from a career and a life perspective. And I'm out on this boat, and I was like, is this it? And then going to villages where there's nothing,
right.
Like nothing.
Completely opposite.
And then as I was traveling, I was living like a shoestring backpacker. Like I was staying in hostels, the cheapest one I could find. And then I also still had credit card points from when I worked at Accenture. So then I was like, once in a while, I'd like get like a really nice hotel, and like it went from like gross dingy hostel to like luxury hotel with the lounge, and I'm eating whatever I want. But I think for me, recognizing and allowing myself to really look at people with money and people without money, and it's not the end all be all. And so, at times it's like, yeah, I wish I was making, I'm like, sometimes I think, I'm like, what would I be making if I was still in this big corporate, following that trajectory? I see my peers, I see some of the stuff they're up to. I took a completely different path in life, and I stripped myself down to nothing. And then I'm intentionally designing what is the most meaningful career for me. And for me, that's wealth. For me, having a life in alignment, having impact that is in knowledge and connection. And that to me it's a different value of mine, rather than having just boatloads of cash that isn't going to actually make me happy.
Right.
So I think for me, that's been the biggest shift of just seeing, like, I was in a mansion last year down in Florida, and I was in there, I was looking around, I'm like, cool.
Right.
Like, cool. This is cool. Like, sweet. I don't really need 17 rooms.
Right.
I traveled in with a suitcase and a carry-on for 6 years.
Right.
I don't need much.
Right.
So it's like, what am I trying to achieve here is its own whole thing.
That's awesome. Is there a belief, if you could pinpoint one, that you no longer agree with, that you did agree with at one point in your life?
Oh, wow. You asked that one question that I don't think I had an answer for. A belief I used to have that I don't have now.
I mean, other than kind of what you just had explained to us about, money being the end all be all type of thing.
Yeah. I think might actually stump me on that one.
If you'd like another one, we can go to the next one.
I was going to
or
say
another question.
I might need another one if that's okay.
Yeah, we'll come back to that because it might pop in your head. It's not a question that is asked a lot to people.
No,
So we like to throw that out there because at some point, you transition to where, like you said, you've created ownership in your life and things like that. And at that point, if not before, because our 3D reality is lagging, there's a change in belief leading to a change in identity. And then from there, then those 3D kind of experiences happen. So I'm wondering if you could relate maybe to that point of like, what were you thinking about yourself at that point, or just before, where things might have shifted and then beliefs are different now?
I mean, it doesn't really necessarily follow a lot of the through lines we're here, but for me, a huge belief of like, I'm a world traveler was, and I have my own business. It's remote, remote first. I used to say like location independent, like I could go wherever I wanted. and now the belief of that in many regards has to shift for me to now do the work that is so important and profound for me. And the belief that needs to, like, the belief that it has to take the form it was at that time, right? So I'm always going to have a travel bug. I'm always going to want to explore other cultures. But requiring myself to say this belief or this value actually has a different priority level. It shifts below, like, the impact that career impact is now higher than my desire to gallivant the world. And so recognizing, I think there's that intersection between beliefs and values, because suddenly it had a values shift, but the belief hadn't caught up yet. And so I cared more about my career and than traveling, but I still believed that that I am a traveler and I should have a very flexible schedule and that I can go here and there. And it's like that catching up and being able to say, okay, wait, no, this is my new reality, and what beliefs are going to enable me to make this value come to life.
Right. Yeah. Experience it. Yeah, that's awesome. I think super important to have those internal conversations with yourself too, because oftentimes we just experience it and we don't reflect on it. And obviously you've had time traveling the world to do a bit of that, but even as you're coming home, saying to yourself, like, this is my new life essentially, and I'm going to experience it in this way right now, how it's meant to be experienced, but not labeling it, saying, I have to travel 2 weeks every quarter or whatever it is. Just letting it happen and letting it be and giving yourself grace for that, I think is very, very important.
So I have one question that I think we can end on.
Yes.
What advice would you give to someone who feels stuck between who they were and who they are becoming?
Lock so hard into who you're becoming.
Love that phrase.
Just lock it in. I know that this is something that you probably work on with your clients, right? Like that affirmation in the morning of, I am this person, right? Noticing your language of, I'm trying to do this. I'm not pure to this, right? But I'm trying to do this. It's no, I am doing this. If you're trying, what's the opposite of trying? Like what? It's you're not doing or you're doing, right? And so really locking that in. I talk about this with organizational change as well. It's like, where are we going? Stop with the where we were, right? And yes, sometimes we do need to acknowledge and help ourselves draw the pathway and create a plan from getting from A to B. And that part of the process is so real. But really locking that in, again, stacking the evidence at the end of the day. What did I see today that showed that I am already there? Is just in surrounding yourself with people who won't let you default back to who you were. With consulting, that's why I was on a client this morning, and he was now in a position where he's helping the org shift, and he's now realizing, he's like, everyone's saying, but we're here. And he's like, but we're trying to get there. I go, this was you 9 months ago. Right. And so it's organizationally, but people wise, right? Like lock in to what you want. And when you waver, find people who will help you remember that that's where you're trying to go.
It's amazing. Yeah, I say the same thing too. Like, understand your vision and make it very clear, and just be it, right? And then everything else is going to fall into place. And it's okay if your vision is changing and you're updating it throughout your life. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
But like you said, lock into who you're becoming. I love that. It's a good phrase. I think I'm going to use that moving forward. So, and closing thoughts here, Chloe, what platforms and where can our audience follow you if they resonate with you and want to continue on your journey with you?
Yeah, there's two best ways. My LinkedIn is the best way from a professional perspective. Yeah, definitely. Chloe Handelman, Handelman on LinkedIn. And that's where I'm sharing all the work that we're doing from an ownership mindset perspective all the way to business continuity and transition readiness and operational support as well. So that is really where it's best to find me. And then we have our website as well as beyond-ownership.com. And that's where you can learn more about the practice in our work there and some of the leadership programs that we've got that's honing in on that ownership mindset for people of all levels within organizations.
Love it. And she's local to Rochester, but also can do remote work.
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing.
Did remote work for 6 years. So
true. Very true.
Better be able to do it.
Yeah. You're good at that. You practice that. Awesome.
We really, really appreciated you being here and with all your advice and just getting to know you better was fantastic. So thank you for being here.
This has been so much fun.
Good. Love it.
Good. So if you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to our channel for more content to help you level up. And remember, your journey to empowered abundance continues on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Vibe and Shine podcast. Keep shining bright.